All right, this is the start of the BMW X6 E71 N55 motor oil pan gasket DIY, or just a general overview. I'm going to break it up into three parts because I'm going to do it over the span of 3 days just to not stress myself out or become too tired. Anyways, parts list that I'm going to be replacing: oil pan gasket, two diff seals, the O-rings that also correspond to those diff seals, and the oil pan bolts because they're aluminum and one-time use. Now we take a look at the subframe itself. I had a helper lower the jack while I was underneath the car guiding it, making sure it wasn't getting snagged on anything. Couple tips. There's going to be a power steering line that's going to run right along here. So either leave the sway bar attached to the car and just zip tie it out of the way, or loosen it like I did. So these brackets are completely loose, and that gives you enough slack to get that hose through this little gap. Otherwise, it's a pain in the butt. The motor mounts, the driver side for the US people, the top nut is really easy to get to, so that's why I took it off there. The top nut on this one I could not get to, so that's why I took off the two bolts holding the motor mount on. There is a catalytic converter in the way, so the front one you can use an E12 Torx bit and or E12 external Torx, E-Torx, and get it off. And then on this one, I used a 10 mil with a bunch of valve lapping compound, a 12.10 mil, and a bunch of valve lapping compound to kind of make sure that was safe and I wouldn't strip that guy out. Anyways, it kind of looks like this anyways, so not bad to do. There's also four brackets that are attached to the driver's side of the subframe. The first one is this guy right here. It sits up top. The next one belongs in here, and it's on the motor mount itself. It's this guy. The third one is in front of the motor mount, which is this guy. And the last one is right here up front, right by that sway bar. There's also six mounting holes, or there's six holes that the 6 bolts that hold the subframe on. There's one right there. There's one around here somewhere. And then there's one back here, and that's mirrored on the other side. This guy is heavy. You may be able to get by with one person with the jack right on the central jacking point. But I just used two, one person lowering, and then me on the bottom, just making sure nothing was getting caught. Anyways, in terms of securing the engine up, Astro Pneumatic 3-point engine hoist, engine support bar. You have to kind of make it all janky looking, but it is stable. You can't make it go straight up and down because the back of the bar will hit the windshield cowl or the windshield. So that's a no-go. Unfortunately, I can't use it the safest method, but this is not going to go anywhere. Now let's take a look underneath the car. So the suspension arms need to come off. The thrust rod, and then I'm guessing this is the tension arm, both get completely unscrewed, and the tension arm also gets undone from the strut. I'm doing this because I'm going to need to move the hub in and out more, just so I can pull the CV axles out of the diff and the oil pan. So that's why you do it that way. Same deal on the driver's side. Oh yeah, and the sway bar end links are still attached because of the way I did it. Anyways, steering rack, 4 bolts. I still kept the steering coupler attached to the steering shaft, just so I don't have to realign anything. And from all the BMWs I've done, this is still fine, and you will be able to get the diff and the oil pan out. Let's see what else. Currently draining everything. There, again, 14 mil hex for the diff, and then 17 for the oil pan. Let's see what else. Now, I did remove the cooling fan just so I can take the belt off, because the power steering pump is connected to the oil pan, and there's also this idler pulley right here, this triangle thing, also connected to the oil pan. So you're going to have to take those off. There's one bracket that I can see. There may be more. We'll see in the next video. And also the oil cooler, mine was held on with 2 bolts. That has to come off. Those 2 bolts have to come off so the oil cooler is not attached to the subframe any longer. This is that power steering line that gets really close to that subframe and sway bar, which is why you need to loosen that part up. Otherwise, that's about it for this video. I will do another part taking off the oil pan differential and giving tips on that. I know for a fact this one I'm going to have a helper pull on the hub, so when this CV is popped out of the diff, I can easily get it completely loosened. On this driver's side, since this axle goes all the way through the oil pan into the diff, what I'm going to do is have a helper pull also. This only needs to go out a little bit before I can just pull the whole diff off of the oil pan once the 4 bolts are off. Taking the oil pan down, I think the axle's still going to be in it, and once I'm at a certain point, I can just move the oil pan sideways and then pull the axle out of the oil pan. That is all I got for this video, so thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the other parts.